Hey, crypto YouTubers, this is coinpicker.us. Today we're going to talk about nuclear fission, which some people, one of my subscribers that watches a couple of my videos commented the word is it's a scam. I'm going to go over that. Bottom line, I don't think it is. Then we're going to talk about where we are on Bitcoin and a couple of other features that are coming up, and I'll be back in a second. Welcome back, coinpicker.us here. As far as nuclear fission goes, there is some validity to some of the accusations against it. There's no doubt about it. However, based on my analysis, it is still a viable project and it is not a scam in my book. I'll tell you why. Let's just take a look at the basics. And I don't know anything more than any of the rest of you, really. I'm just looking at the roadmap. They name names. Okay, foreign research under a Harvard professor incepted at Harvard Business School. That would be very easy to prove otherwise. Related raised angel round from Tim Draper. Tim Draper is not an idiot, despite what some people would like to think. Um, and if they didn't raise any rounds from him, he would certainly uh, take legal action. Proof of concept, host a demo, raise seed from institutional investors. Those are listed. Product fully developed, four global technology partnerships. Here's where it gets a little muddy. 12-layer deep stack, we don't know enough about that. 50 million unique customer insights from Telecom. Again, we don't know enough about that either. But IOM sensors deployed, 10 of them. Telecom partnerships, all of these types of things are very difficult for us to validate. Users identified, same thing. Where we ran into the issues were the partnerships and a couple of the other claims that they made deployed at 25 stores. Some of these stores were contacted and they said, we don't agree, we're not partnered with NCash, and so that blew up into quite an explosion of what people will call FUD. I don't agree with FUD, that term at all, just like I don't agree with hodling. We're looking for facts. We're looking for a very clear version of reality. Whether you want to call it fear, uncertainty, or doubt, or whether you want to call it facts, I'm looking for what really happened and what the real partnerships are. We ran into this with Walton, where Walton was announcing a partnership that wasn't firm, and that was with the China Mobile. China said, yes, we're working with them. We don't have a signed partnership. We haven't committed to any funding, all that kind of thing. So sort of the same boat with NCash. I am I pulled NCash off the long-term portfolio that I recommend in coinpicker.us, which I'll talk about in a little bit. However, that's not because I'm thinking that it's going to no longer be viable at all. I'm just going to double check my already relatively thorough research to make sure that there aren't some other issues coming to light. But in response to one of my great subscribers who's been fantastic about pointing some of these things out, I'm going to take the other side on this one. I think NCash is viable. I still say it has a long way to go, and it has apparently IP. We haven't. I'm going to have to look for the actual patents to determine whether that's really valid. But apparently, they have hardware IP. They are in partnerships with certain well-known brands, and they have received funding. So I'm going to go ahead and continue with NCash for a while until I can prove otherwise, and I'm going to conduct some more research on it. But at this point, I still say it is a valid project. So thank you for the heads up on it, but I'm going to hold on to it. Now, in terms of Bitcoin, this is unfolding almost precisely the way I've been talking about for quite a while. And I know I sound boring, and maybe I'm sounding like I'm tooting my own horn. It's just the fact. If I get it wrong, I'll say the same thing as well. But I said somewhere around in the 6,400 range, we've hit a local bottom. We're headed up from here. That's largely what we've been doing. Now, we're at the top end on a daily basis, but one of the nice things that's happened, and I mentioned this in a chat room that I talk about, was that no longer are we seeing blow-throughs to the downside like we saw here and a couple of other places. We're maintaining the above moving average performance, which is indicative of a longer term, what I would call build up and buy-in phase. Much longer term build up and buy-in phase. Less speculative movement. So this is very positive. Now on a weekly basis, not an awful lot has changed, which is great. It's what I want to see. We have an upward trend. I talked about that a while ago. We have an upward trend. We're still on the way to cross back over the moving averages, and my expectation is in the 13 to 15 range. I've been talking about that for quite a while. which would not, and at that point, I'm going to reevaluate and decide whether or not we're going to crest over 20. So I'm just putting that as a midway point, but for now, everything is unfolding as those of you who have been following me for a long time, and if you put any faith in what I'm saying or credibility, I have been predicting this for quite a while, and thus far it's come to pass. I said April would be the reversal month. We may not actually get to the 14 range, which looks somewhat doubtful, but it's not out of the realm of possibility the way the crypto market moves. But we did get the reversal. We are holding on to it. I do not expect any major downward trend right now. Keep in mind, this is occurring in a struggling stock market with the dollar rebounding. So we have countervailing forces, and yet we're still seeing a steady rise in cryptocurrency. Why is that happening? Because there are people who are dollar cost averaging or laddering into positions. That's why it's happening. There are waves of funds ready to move into crypto space. Plus, the dollar is long-term unstable. And with the dollar long-term unstable, that makes everything else by comparison look good. Let's take a look at LTC, which has been getting a lot of press. And I'm always supportive. I have no enemies that I can't stand in the crypto space. Well, there's one, but I'm not going to talk about that one. I promote them all. I hope they all succeed. But as far as Litecoin goes, on a weekly basis, it isn't as strong an upward mover as Bitcoin appears to be. Now, it's made a move from roughly the 110 range up to 146. It's a nice move. And on a weekly basis, it looks like it has somewhat more to go, but not very, very aggressively. Otherwise, we would see sharper curves here. And this is just basically indicating we're going to trend to catch up with the averages. We could have higher moves, but it's not. It's not a barn burner in my book. Um, okay, on a daily basis, we're definitely top heavy and coming down, and that's what I was talking about earlier. Definitely top heavy and coming down, and that is nothing too surprising. We had a very significant move, 111 up to potentially 150. Very tradable move. I mean, really nice move. So Litecoin has definitely been getting a lot of attention. There's been a lot of development with it. I'm not a hater of Litecoin. I just think that there are potentially better opportunities, though I recommend Litecoin as a portion of the holding in a long-term portfolio, but we are headed down on a daily basis. On a weekly basis, we have more room to go up. It's just not going to be quite as aggressive as some other platforms. Let's take a look at, let's take a look at NCash actually. See what NCash versus Bitcoin is doing. On a weekly basis, we have no real data, but on a daily basis, it got pushed back down. Now, this isn't super positive for an early project, but it's setting up for it. If NCash can answer all the doubts, and I believe it can, it will push back through. It's setting up for a reasonable buy here, not a screaming buy, meaning the probability of it turning up is at an extreme level. It's not that at all. In fact, the probability is still down for NCash, which isn't good considering that Bitcoin is going up. So on a relative basis, NCash is an underperformer right now. Of course, it was red hot for a while, as you can see from these periods. When I was talking about it, it was a red hot performer, a great place to buy. As a long-term buy, you're not trying to buy in and trade out within a day or week or a couple of hours. As a long-term buy, it's still a reasonable position. But for those of you like myself who like to buy in and sell out and what I call harvest profits and build positions from profits of previous positions, not a great opportunity right here. Let's take a look at Walton. WTC has long been one of my favorite, and it has had some good moments and some less than good moments. Right now, it's in a narrow range of accumulation. And this can often indicate you're going to get a whopper trend change at some point. The question is it going to go up or is it going to go down? The bad news, I hate to break it, the bad news on this trend change is, normally, yeah, the bad news on this one looks like the probability is to a downside move here. But we're going to have to watch it carefully. This is very odd behavior right here. It's very odd behavior. May mean that there's somebody moving in institutionally or something, but Not too surprising that it had a nice run up here from a low point up here, but it's trading in a narrow range um, with right now the general momentum is trending to down. So we'll watch that carefully. Still on a long-term hold. Let's take a look at EOS, which is just crushing it as well it should. And well, were it not for the fact, actually, it's not really even that toppy. It's not really that toppy. It's sort of in a positive uptrend um, on a daily basis. Still a strong buy on a daily basis. On a weekly basis, the data isn't very good, but it's a screaming buy on a weekly basis. Not that the data is that good. Long term, EOS is one of those portfolio makers. So, for instance, you might have 5 to 10% in Bitcoin, 5 to 10%, or maybe more. You might have your preference in Litecoin. Ethereum, 5 to 10, 15%. EOS, 10, 20, 30%, something like that. It's a portfolio maker, and then you have other more speculative coins. So bottom line on all this is market's looking fantastic. It's playing out just like I've talked about, and those of you who follow me have been aware. I've been talking about it for a long time. NCash, in my opinion, thus far, without looking at patents, which I'm going to do, it's going to be a little tricky because I'm going to have to find out who's got the actual name on them, and they're not very open about that. But I want to find that because that will be the key piece of value for NCash. And once that's defined, I'm not worried about the rest of it. The partnerships can come and go. People can agree or not agree, but the patent IP takes a lot of money, a lot of research, a lot of intellectual capital to achieve them, and that will define my book whether or not NCash is valid. I say right now, NCash is valid. All right, we will catch up with everybody later. Oh, one thing I wanted to point out for those of you who are still watching. Well, you know what? I'm not going to show it right now. I just want to let everybody know that I am opening up the coinpicker.us membership. That's getting put together. The total crypto market cap, which is one of the main features, which allows you to trade with a really high probability. That's already working again, and everything is coming together. So those of you who are interested in signing up, I'm going to have a limited number of memberships, and we certainly would welcome you. And I will catch up with everybody later.